Hey friends, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So my name is Katie, if you're new here, hi, and I'm going to be doing my July update for my Project Pan. So I finished a couple of items and I made pretty good progress on some things that are very close to being finished, so let's just hop on right into it. So I like to start off with the personal care products that I have in here, so I will start off as always with my Live Clean Argan Oil Gel Oil Treatment. I go back and forth on what it is, but I'm sort of exactly where I expected to be. It's not finished, but I think next month because it's now up to here. So I was right here last month, now we're down to here, so I think this is like 2 to 3 weeks left maybe. I use this pretty much every single time I wash my hair as kind of like a styler, and then occasionally I'll use it in between just to sort of help rejuvenate things a little bit. I do like this, but I'm also going to be very glad to see it go. I really want to get something that has a little bit more actual hold because, as you might be able to tell by looking at my hair, it's quite humid out, and all of my regrowth from last summer has reached a stage where it's trying to do what the rest of my hair is doing, and so it's just very annoying. So I'm definitely going to be happy to have that finished, but yeah, next month I think that's going to be gone. So next up I have my Burt's Bees Cuticle Cream. So I brought this in last month. It was one of those things that I kind of forgot I had and was trying to finish up, and I didn't think I would have it finished by this month, but I actually finished this a couple of weeks ago. To be fair, I was also using it on like my elbows and stuff, so it now looks like this, completely empty, and I'm definitely glad to be done with this. This really encouraged my cuticles to grow out further, and I'm trying to have them not do that. So even though this was nice and moisturizing, I didn't love the overall effect in terms of like, I would have to push back my cuticles a lot more often. So I am glad to have this finished. Also, this was just very old. So I am going to be replacing this with the last little bits of my bottle of solar oil. So I bought solar oil for the first time a couple years ago. This is my first bottle, and I'm so close to being finished, but I've kind of been slacking off and forgetting to use it, so I just feel like I need a little bit of a push. Now there isn't a ton left in here, but this is still probably a month or two, maybe 3, because you need so little of this at a time, even if you reapply it. So I'm going to sort of tilt it to the side, and I think you can see that there is a decent amount for a product like this left in here. So I will mark this, and then, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 months of fairly frequent use, this can be gone. We'll see. I just want to have this finished up because it's been sitting for a while and I just keep on forgetting to reach for it, and I would like to not do that. So hopefully this will give me a little bit of the push that I need to actually finish this. So moving on to my makeup products, I'm going to start off with my foundation. So I brought in the Maybelline Fit Me Matte about 2 months ago, and so I started it at about halfway done. I was here last month and now I'm down to about here, which is exactly where I'd hoped to be. So I used this 8 times. And it's sort of hard to tell exactly where I am because I did use this today, and it is thicker, so it sort of like stays around the sides. So I will remark it if I have to once it settles, but I figured for the purpose of making this, that's roughly where I am. So I think this could be gone next month, hopefully. I don't like this. I've managed to figure out ways to make it work, but I had to redo it today because things just weren't working out well, and the second time I got a pretty good result, but I'm definitely going to be happy to have this finished up. So hopefully, fingers crossed, by next month that will be an empty. Alright, so next up I have what I've been using as an eye base for the last little while, and so this is the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk. I'm gonna have to see how this works once it gets really hot and humid. We've only had a couple of days like that and it didn't really last. I'm hoping that this will still hold up. Like I said in my last update, I have hooded lids and they are a little bit on the oily side, so I do find that this is prone to creasing a little bit, and I don't notice fading a whole lot. It's mostly just the sort of creasing that I'm not the biggest fan of. So I have found that setting this down with a neutral shadow does work before I start the rest of my eyeshadow. It does buy me a few more hours, but this still will crease within like 4 to 6 hours. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this until I completely finish it. I think what I said last update was that we are going to keep this in till the end of the summer, and then based on my schedule and how I feel with this, we will sort of decide if it's something that I'm going to keep around for a little bit. I also said I was going to try to use it in the waterline. I'm not the biggest fan of a stark white waterline, so I kind of did that a couple times and then kind of forgot. So, but I have managed to sharpen this once, and I have used this 17 times. So I've sharpened this I think once or twice, and I feel like you can definitely see it is a little bit smaller than the last update. Maybe let me just like hold it over here. But yeah, it does look slightly smaller than the last update, so I feel like there is progress even though it's slow going. Okay, moving on. I don't know if you'll be able to tell how much I've used this when you look at it, but this is my ColourPop Super Shock blush in between the sheets. I've been working on this since January. It's been in since the beginning, and it did have pan on it in the beginning, but I've been trying to flatten it, and so it is now looking like this. I definitely really leaned into trying to have this finished sooner rather than later, so I've really been using this a lot. Even days where I'm not necessarily doing eye makeup, I might just like pop a little bit of this and some highlighter on. So this I have used 16 times. I've used this 16 times since the last update, and you know, I still have a long ways to go before it's empty, but I feel like I'm making progress. I feel like the pan's definitely looking bigger than it was, and it's looking flatter. So I am going to make zero commitments for how long I think it's going to take before this is done. I'm just hoping at some point. I highly doubt it's going to be gone before the end of the year, but like sooner rather than later, you know? Anyway, so I will continue to use this, and hopefully we'll have a little more pan and a little bit less product the next time. All right, so next up, let's talk about my highlighter. So I brought in the Wet n Wild Mega Glow in Halo Goodbye, which is sort of like this really pretty neutral pink color. In last month, I have used this 17 times, and I'm exactly where I thought I was going to be. I didn't think I would get to the halfway point of like the remaining product, but I did get to about a third left. I brought it in starting up here. I'm now down, I think I'm a little bit below the marking because I have used this again, but I am more or less a third finished what I started with, if that made any sense whatsoever. So I feel pretty decent about my progress on this, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this once I finish my foundation, just because I've been using this underneath my foundation, but I've noticed when I do bare skin, which is most of the time, this doesn't play really nicely with my concealer. It just kind of cakes up when combined with my concealer, and generally I have fairly aggressive under eye circles, so I generally go in with like a decent amount of concealer in order to make sure that they are a little bit more covered. And especially back in sort of this area, I've noticed that this really just will sort of get separated and sort of cakey looking. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily push through to trying to finish this, but I am going to keep it for as long as I have my foundation, and then after that we'll sort of see. So moving on to my lip products, I finished another lipstick. So I did finish my Marc Jacobs Mini in the shade Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I mean, I knew this was going to be done. This has been done for weeks. The crows are either congratulating me or they're mad at me, I can't tell. But anyway, so I used it five more times. So I used this 5 more times in order to finish it, and it is done. So even though I have really liked this, like the formula on these is great. It wasn't the easiest color for me to wear, at least like with the colors that I gravitate towards. Apparently that was not an objection to me, it was an objection to the seagull trying to steal the crow's food. So we are going to move on, and so I'm going to be replacing my Marc Jacobs Mini with a Usage Goal on my KVD liquid lipstick in the shade Outlaw. So it's this really lovely red. I love this color. I don't wear it enough, but I do want to get some good use out of it this summer. So I'm gonna give myself a usage goal of 10 on this, and we will see how long it takes. I have no idea, but I would like to just use this a little bit more because I do absolutely love the color, and I haven't reached for it in a while. So I figured now's a good time. It's a good season for this color, so let's just do it. And I am still, probably to nobody's surprise, working on my Sephora liquid lip cream in the shade Blackberry Sorbet. I wore this yesterday. I've worn it 3 times since the last update, and this is still going. There is definitely like less in it. I feel like I say this every time, this is not really a formula that windows per se. It's almost like a whipped formula. The formula on this is far superior to the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream, but it's like a similar kind of whipped consistency, so it doesn't really window, but I mean, there's definitely like a lot less coming out on the wand than there used to be, so I'm hoping to just, at this point, just have this done by the end of the year. Alright, so next up I have my e.l.f. Cream Liner. I've been working on this for a while now. I don't love this formula. It is not super easy to work with, not super forgiving on my eyelids, but I would like to get a little more use out of it before I do eventually replace it with something else. So I have used this 6 times this month. It still looks basically like the exact same. Still like massive crater, still no pan. So we're just going to leave this in. I'm sort of assessing my replacement status for, I would like to replace this at some point sooner rather than later. Again, it might be one of those, I keep this till the end of the summer and then I get rid of it. I'm not entirely sure, but I do want to get a little bit more use out of it, hence why it's in this project. So 6 uses. I was hoping for a little more than that, but it's one of those products that I just don't use because it does take a little bit of work, and a lot of days I just don't want to work that hard for my eyeliner. So yes, so a little bit less progress on that one than I'd hoped for, but still progress. And last but not least, I have my eyeshadow palette, which I'm finally going to be rolling out of this project. So I have been working on the shade Abyss, which is like this navy blue. Every single time I bring this in, I hold this up upside down. It's like every single time I talk about this, it's like Earth and Oceans, but like upside down. Anyway, so I have been working on the shade Abyss, which is right here. And so it's this sort of matte navy blue, not the most pigmented. I have worn this once this month for 6 uses total. So I am finally going to be rolling this guy out. This has been in, I can't even remember when I rolled it in. It was like February, March maybe. And I've just been sort of dragging my feet on the shade for a while. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna roll it out and replace it with something that I'm actually gonna use. So I have been sort of contemplating whether or not to bring this palette into a project for a while, but I have decided that it is something that I would like to try to completely finish at some point over the next few years, and that is going to be my KVD Alchemist palette. Now, I really do like these, but these are also not this is, at least for me, like not an everyday kind of product, because these are basically this is essentially a very expensive eyeshadow quad full of like duochrome transformer sort of shades. Now, I use this mainly as a highlighter. I know some people use them as eyeshadows, but I personally prefer a little bit more of a foiled, impactful shadow, and they don't really have that going for them, but they are really pretty on the skin, and I really like using them as highlighters. I've been doing that a lot recently, as well as inner corner highlights. So I would like to roll some of the shades through this project. So I think the first one that I'm going to bring in is the shade Blue Sapphire, which is like this one right here. And these are so pretty. I'm gonna swatch this and we'll see if I can, yeah, see, very, very pretty. And it just kind of looks like that. I do want to hit pan on this, so we are going to be keeping this in until I hit pan. Now, this is really pretty. I use it on the cheekbones. Sometimes I don't usually go out in public like that, but if I'm just at home and I want to look a little extra, I will put this as a highlighter. I also really like it as an inner corner highlight. It works quite well with my Pan That palette, because I've been working on the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions as my Pan That palette for this year, and that has a lot of blue or green shades, and this is kind of like a blue-green sort of shift to it. So works really well as an inner corner or like an all-over face highlight with that palette, as well as with a bunch of other things. I also really like the blue on your collarbones is really, really pretty, so I've been really into that. So I am just going to roll this in, and we are going to leave this in until I hit pan, and then I will rotate something else from this palette. That is pretty much going to wrap up this update. It's been a pretty decent one. We've got a couple of empties, a couple of rollouts, and I think next month is set up to be a pretty decent update too. All right, so that is almost the end of this update. I do have to really quickly talk about my 21 in 21 count, which has actually gone up. I have hit my goal and actually exceeded my goal, which I completely forgot to say in my intro, but I have exceeded my goal, so I'm happy about that. So I was at, I want to say 18 or 19 last month empties, and I'm now at 22. So I finished, I think, I want to say 3 items. I want to say I was at 19 last month. So I finished 3 items. I've exceeded my goal. I still have a bunch of things on my list. So the way I do my 21 in 21 is that basically at the beginning of the year, well, early in the year, I went through my inventory and picked out a bunch of items that I just did not want to take into 2022 with me, and put them into a list, and then every time I finish one, I add it to the total. So I still have some items on that list. That list kind of expanded as I discovered more things and wanted to pare down some more. So I have finished 22. I think progress is most likely going to slow down a little bit from here, because a lot of the items that I have left are items that take longer to finish. So things like my blush, things like my blush here, this highlighter, you know, stuff like that, nail polishes, because I do have a nail polish project pan going on, but those are, I do my nails about once a week, so those things take longer, so I think things are probably going to slow down from here. I'm hoping that I'll be able to knock off a couple items every single month, but I don't think we're gonna have months anymore, like I want to say May or June, where I finish like 5 items. I don't think that's likely to happen, but as long as I'm making steady progress, I will definitely be happy about that. So that is sort of this update. I feel like I made some pretty good progress. I've got a couple of things out, actually not as many empties as I've had previously, but I feel like the progress on the rest of my items kind of makes up for that, and I feel like I'm sort of set up to have at least 2 empties next month. I think my argan oil is definitely going to be gone, foundation most likely 2, and then maybe my solar oil. I think that's probably going to take more like 2 months, but maybe 3, but maybe it'll be done next month, I'm not sure. So I think that is pretty much going to be this update. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. What are you working on in your project pan? Let me know down below. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, my name's Katie. I make new videos every Tuesday and sometimes Saturdays, so feel free to subscribe and also hit that like button, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one. Bye!